Welcome to the podcast.
Happy to be here.
Welcome to the Emotionally Uncomfortable podcast. Are you emotionally uncomfortable?
Definitely uncomfortable.
Are you?
A little bit.
Why?
I don't know. It's been a while since I've done a podcast.
Do you remember when I used to make you do podcasts with me? You were little.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, let's chat.
Let's chat.
How's it going?
Good. Things are moving.
Okay. So, you don't listen to the podcast, do you?
No.
Okay, good.
Not very often, no.
Not very often.
Maybe little clips.
Really?
But here and there. But
when?
Instagram.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought I blocked you.
No, you unblocked me.
Oh, okay. So you and I have had quite the journey together.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just tell people a little bit about how old you are? Just how old are you, Logan?
I am 19 years old.
Okay.
I have graduated high school.
Yeah.
I am not enrolled in any post-high school education as of right now.
Mm-hmm.
I am working full-time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
And you're an awesome human being.
I tried.
Okay. So I chatted on the podcast about, I talk a lot about parenting, right? And parenting from the aspect of me as mother, you as child. Obviously you have your brothers as well. And I talk a lot about leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So who I need to be for you guys. Obviously you have the child experience, and I know when I'm talking to people, a lot of the adult experience is like me projecting, right? Like me projecting who you need to be, how you need to act, how you need to turn out. And very little are adults actually considerate of children's needs, children's thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can't, as an adult, knowing what I know now, cannot go back and put myself in your exact shoes. And if I do put myself in your exact shoes, I'm usually putting myself in my shoes when I was your age, which are very different than the shoes you're in today. So we know that I've talked openly about this, I've talked openly about this, like your unconventional high school career. And also a lot of like my clients and people have like said, thank you for being so open about the journey, because they have had challenges with their kids too.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have this interview with you to get your perspective on, because they've only heard my perspective. So they're probably like, WTF, like, who is Logan? How is he doing out there in the world? So I'm just going to ask you some questions to get you a little comfortable, and we'll see where the conversation goes.
All right.
Okay. So talk a little bit about your high school experience.
My high school experience started off pretty strong. I was at the high school 2 years prior in grade school in the hockey program.
Yeah, because you were like middle. We don't have middle school here. Yeah. Americans call it middle school, but grade 7 and 8, you were in high school because you were doing like this bridge program where you played hockey.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was pretty acclimated to the school already. I went into grade 9 fairly confident, pretty good grades. I don't remember having much trouble with school. And then once COVID happened, with all the grades being, I didn't have to touch a single piece of work for 2 years, and that really affected my work ethic and my just overall view on the school system and what I was really spending my time learning. And I just started slowly to just fall out of love with it. And there was not even love, but just discipline with it. I couldn't bring myself to actively try and put an effort to something that I just didn't believe in anymore.
Okay. And during that time, you didn't really tell me any of this.
Well, I also was there wasn't much to do. It's kind of, I feel like you're almost stuck. It's very hard to get out of that system because there's not much other way around high school. It's high school. It's like most people go, like it's a normal thing that people do. And when you struggle with high school, or it's just maybe the school isn't the right fit or the way they're teaching you, there are options, but those options are not attractive. Those options are not normal.
Mm-hmm.
Those options are not easy. Like they're not easy decisions to make, to
Mm-hmm.
choose an easier, more helpful option.
So grade 9, grade 10 were during COVID.
Yes, for the most part. Grade 9,
It was like half.
half of it
Okay.
was normal.
And most of grade 10 was.
Most of grade 10 was online, and then grade 11 we started going back with masks and started integrating. But that was like 6 hours a day in one classroom, one class
Right.
per week.
So even grade 11 wasn't that normal. So
No,
almost most of your high school experience was not normal.
very, yeah.
And then you, so your behavior started to change. So I want to talk about that.
Mhm.
So when you say things to me now, like, this is what was happening, like you're using your voice now,
Mm-hmm.
but you're like, this is what was happening inside of me from a bigger bird's eye view, not like an emotional view, but you're like, okay, COVID happens.
Taking myself out of the equation.
Yes, COVID happens. I'm in this system. I'm starting to lose respect for the system. And then therefore I'm just not interested in it
Developing
anymore.
bad habits.
Yes. And you're just kind of shutting down. Like you
Mm-hmm.
said, you didn't really have to do much school wise for 2 years. Therefore, you didn't do much because learning at home was not life enhancing and we couldn't go anywhere, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So, what were you noticing with your behaviors at that time? Like observing yourself, and then we'll talk about parenting.
I think it was just a lot of mental. There's just a lot of. There's so much that goes into it that it's difficult to explain because there's the fact that of the way that I affect everyone else around me by my behavior.
Right, but
And
talk more about just yourself. Don't
just myself?
Yeah,
Okay.
don't talk about how you affect other people. Just talk about your experience with yourself.
I would say that I just noticed that the way the way it works with habits and just things that need to be done, like obligate obligations, like
Okay. But even okay, so you were sleeping a lot.
yeah,
What do you notice about you and sleep?
that it's just a coping mechanism of sorts,
Okay.
and that I use it to avoid and sleep in,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just really difficult to even get out of bed for that's school period.
Especially when you don't have to leave the house, and you don't like going to school,
Mm-hmm.
and you have no bills to pay, and you're like, what's the point? Like, there was no consequence of you not
Mm-hmm.
going to school besides adults yelling at you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you talk now, let's talk about like mental or emotional well-being. What did you notice at the time? Like, be open and vulnerable about your mental health at that time.
I felt like an outsider, like there was something wrong with me. I felt extremely dumb because I couldn't grasp the simple concept of high school when everyone else around me had it pattened down. But I also just I couldn't I just couldn't get around it, and it just became more and more of an up, like a just a spiral almost. I don't know. I think it was just a compilation of the way I was treated,
Mm-hmm.
things that I did that were my mistakes and other people's. It's just it really showed me what like just not advocating for yourself can do to you in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it really was eye opening.
Talk about how you were treated, whether it was at home or at school. And you can call me out.
Well, I think you have standards, and yes, standards are annoying and they hurt, and upholding those standards as a parent, I can't even imagine because me myself thinking of upholding like a standard when your
But
child is
don't try to make I understand you
no,
respect
I'm just
me.
saying. I'm
Okay.
just saying. You have standards, and I still don't agree with some of them because you drive me nuts. But it's a fact that without that standard, then I would probably be someone completely different, and my view on the world and habits and the person I want to be would be completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that just the way it's just not it's not designed to flow, like generate I like it's so
You're talking about school.
yes, it's such a box. It's very there's no can't it's creative to a certain extent. Like it lets you figure out who you are to a certain extent.
Hmm.
And these rules that are there for a reason but are also sometimes just not
Hmm.
like the way that they're implemented or the way that they're said to a young teenager is not
Hmm.
great. And then that plus my view on the school system, and then the way I get treated and talked to, it's just it's hard to explain because it's
It makes sense. So when you were starting, what I observed when you were starting to shut down,
mm,
right? So things feel heavy and you just shut down. And when you shut down, you stop communicating, right?
mm.
So a lot of parents will say to me, how do I motivate my teenager? They just hide in their room and they don't talk to me anymore.
One thing I was actually thinking about before we hopped on this recording is I was thinking about the contrast between because a big thing for you is as a parent really understanding the mind of the child and what your child is thinking and how you can be the best person to support your kid.
Yep.
And I was thinking about the fact that I think all the mental health things that are coming up and the not having the motivation to get up because I've been there, like it is painful to know that something's wrong but having zero like not a little tiny piece of just a little spark to get you up.
Mm-hmm.
Not having that and having to still get yourself up is painful. And I think that these days and the next generations that are coming up, like my generation and my brothers, it's going to be, it's a whole, you're raising different human beings. We were raised with immense knowledge, immense knowledge. I know so much more than the average 19-year-old. And I'm sure that I don't know everything,
Right.
but
And do you mean that because of access to the internet
access to
or
the internet and you. But I'm just saying,
because I think differently?
yes, but I'm just saying that I think I, the kids and the teenagers are so
How do you motivate?
different.
Okay, but how do you motivate them? I get this question all the time. What could I have done as a parent to motivate you? And is that like an actually dumb question? How do I motivate my kids? Because,
Well, it's what's going to motivate them.
right,
But that's the thing. You're never going to motivate your child to do something that they don't want to do that you want them to do. It's just never
right.
going to happen. And then if anything
I
that's going
can't
to
motivate you to do something for me.
yeah, and if anything that's going to be a detriment to your relationship
Right.
in the long run because of you're constantly being forced to maybe do something you don't want to do,
Mm.
or maybe you notice something that your kid's developing some little habit and you just mention it the wrong way, or you don't bring it up to them properly because the reality is if they don't want to hear it they're not gonna hear it.
Okay, so there's so many things I want to say to you, and then I want to have like commentary because you're my kid. But in those moments, like I could see you from an outsider literally going down a rabbit hole,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you kind of just slightly talked about it, how it's really hard to get out of bed when you know, like intellectually, you're like, I know I need to get up. I mean, you still have a hard time getting up. I have a hard time getting up, regardless of why our brains do that. But that's always going to be something that you're going to have to like play with,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like brain health is really important. So here you are going, what's the point of getting out of bed? Everybody owns me. My parents own me. The school owns me. I literally have no independence. So, what is the point of getting out of bed? Essentially, that's what you were saying.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're like, when parents ask me, well, how do I motivate my kid? What's the strategy to do that? It's like, well, what is going to motivate a child? What do they want to do? It's really difficult because even if I asked you, what do you want to do? Your response is going to be like, I don't know. Right. So we need to agree that becoming a teen, like being a teenager And then let's just slap COVID on top of that, or any crisis that anyone has gone through, is an incredibly difficult time in life.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a parent, I'm over here being me. And when I say me, I don't mean, because you call me out all the time. You're like, don't Heather show me, because you get frustrated because of the work I do, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that knowledge, but then there's just the parent part of me that's like really scared,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So then I show up and I yell, which I did yell, but a lot of times I didn't yell all the time. I yelled when I got really frustrated. I yelled when I got really scared.
Mm-hmm.
When you saw me scared because I could see you going down a rabbit hole, and I was like, he's becoming apathetic now. When someone is in apathy, it's not good. You're making a face at me. When you don't care
Mm-hmm.
if you die,
Mm-hmm.
that is a scary place to see your children. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to parents like when their children are at that place. Be vulnerable. Be honest, because your voice is going to make an impact.
Well, growing up, I was very, I was constantly searching for your
Approval.
validation, approval, anything. Like just, I just wanted you to constantly be proud of me. I never wanted to upset you.
Mm-hmm.
And once I got into high school, slowly and slowly, I started doing little things that like would disappoint you, and you caught me a few times, like here and there, whatever it was, like just stupid stuff. And I I think also the feeling of being almost a rebel, and it really bothered me, and I think a lot of the feelings that I was feeling was because of the way, like watching the way that I was affecting you and the household just in general, because the school was like not leaving you guys alone,
Yeah.
and because I would just not get up, like I was just useless, just laying there.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it was the fact that I didn't, for some reason, I felt like for the first time in my life, I felt like my own person, even though I was not being a good person per se, not developing better habits, not actively pursuing like, no, just no, going nowhere, just floating around.
But being a rebel gave you some type of
It gave
independence.
me it gave me
Oh, I get
a
it.
vision of who I was and who I can be. And at first it was bad, and it took a long time for me to realize the behaviors and the habits that I had developed,
Mm-hmm.
and really understand just the damage and pain that was just brought up by everyone, because it was no one's not one person's fault. I think it was just uh, a compilation of your feelings, because you're seeing behaviors that you maybe saw in yourself when you were younger, and I there's only so much you can do,
I
and
just like
I
that
am
you're
not.
turning your shit back. You give me a taste of my own medicine.
I'm
Go
just
ahead.
a little bit, just a little. Well, it's a fact.
A little
It's
sprinkle.
all factors, but I think that the fact that for the first time in my life, I didn't care about anything. I had bad anxiety. I cared about the way I looked. I was very self-conscious, and I still am all those things, but
Mm-hmm.
for the first time I felt like a weight had been lifted. and and then I think a lot of it was just the the regrouping of understanding that, yes, I don't care about things. Yes, I can. My social anxiety has gone a little bit. Yes, I have a job. Yes, I have a car. Yes, I have like good. I had very good friends in high school. Like, yes, we did dumb things, and I skipped a lot, and I just didn't care about school. But like, I still was around people, socializing, learning things. I learned all sorts of things about people that I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
I learned all sorts of things about people that would quote unquote scare you. I just learned things about people.
Yeah.
Every like just like I just socialized with everyone. I wasn't scared of I,
All the things you're
I wasn't scared of anything. I just was just living. And once I don't know the exact moment. I can't think of it. Maybe one day I'll reflect and know the exact moment, but I can't think of the exact moment I knew that I was not okay, and that I needed help, and that I needed to just feel the uncomfortable feelings and just do all the stuff that I was just avoiding for like 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
properly finishing high school, repairing all the damage that I did, and 4 years,
Mhm.
and did just destroying habits that were not beneficial to me whatsoever.
Mhm. This is like therapy.
I know, and I say this, I barely have it down. I barely know what I'm talking about, but I don't know. Every day, I just notice like one thing just pops in my head. I'm like, oh, that makes
You
sense.
are so okay. There yes, your energy is definitely changing. Life is never going to be perfect. You're always going to be working through something. Why do you think you want to make me proud? Here's what I want to say before you say this. Everybody has a thing with their parents, right? And I know you have your own story with your parents. But why do you, because I have said to you, like, what do you want to do? And this is a challenge for all humans where it's like, well, what do I want to do versus what people want me to do? Could be your
Mm-hmm.
parents, could be society, right? So why do you think you want to make me proud?
Because I was given the best mother on planet Earth.
Oh my God.
I swear, I don't know. I was never pressured into anything growing up whatsoever. I was never even pressured. I was told from like 12, even a little younger than that, that I didn't have to go to college or university if I didn't want to. I was never pressured to make a single decision that someone else wanted me to do for the most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing and learning the type of woman that brought me into this world and like the shit that you've fucking dealt with. Like I can't think of a single person on this planet that I am more proud of, and like you're my role model, number one. You're the strongest person. I don't think there's anyone much stronger than you. Like I don't know how you're
I'm
37. I
crying.
don't know how you're 37 years old and
I'm
have
38.
okay, whatever. But I don't understand how you've lived the life you have had three extremely healthy, smart children, have an amazing marriage, and are just fucking ticking the boxes of everything that you want. And I'm just over here sitting in my house. Like a month ago, for example, I came back from Costa Rica and I was laying around, literally sleeping in until 3 o'clock. And
And then I kicked you out.
but still, you didn't kick me out. It had to happen. But regardless, um, the feel like I just not having to move. I've never been a spoiled brat. You've always made me if I really want something, you've always made me work for it. But you've always given me a home and you've never pushed me out. And the only time that you did was recently, and it was because quite frankly, I needed to be pushed out because I was being a tit. So it's okay.
It's recorded.
That's fine. But you there's no reason for me to live my life just going through the motions, just doing it like everyone else when I was given all of these privileges and just such an awesome role model and teacher through for my the rest of my life.
So you're saying I fucked you up?
No,
I'm just kidding. For people can't see, I'm just tears streaming down my face
it was like
here.
one tear.
There was three. Um, thank you. And I will say, the question I asked you is why do you want to make me so proud? And you can see the person I am. You can see how hard I have worked for everything, but also you were 9 when I was diagnosed with cancer. We didn't even talk about that because
Mm-hmm.
you have that experience too. You are a man, which is very different, or a young man, which is very different than if you were a young woman. Our relationship would be very different, right? You have that, like, I want to make you proud. I want to provide. I want to protect. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you have that innate masculine trait. So I see that when you are talking about me
Mm-hmm.
and you want to be of service to me, but at the same time you have to be of service to yourself. So that's, I think, what we're teaching each other is you want to make me proud and I want you to be happy. I want you to live a healthy life. I want you to go after what you want to do, and I want you to thrive. But I also understand that's not going to happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So I, as your parent, have to watch my expectations and standards, because it doesn't matter if I said you need to become a doctor and I forced you to become a doctor. One day you could be 40, 50 years old. One day you're going to say, I didn't even want to do this. I
Mm-hmm.
did this because my mom or my parents made me do it. So it doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter, because I just want you to be happy. In the sense, I think that's bullshit when people say, I want you to be happy, but I just want you to actually develop the inner leadership skills, the grit, the perseverance, the determination. And I don't think life has always been rainbows and kitty cats for you. Like, I think you look at me and you see what I've created, but I don't think it's always been rainbows and kitty cats for you.
I honestly, when I look back on my childhood and all the things that I've experienced, I don't feel any remorse.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like any regret, not a single one. And yeah, I'm even so fortunate that like you're here. Like imagine if you told me that. I remember you telling me, Logan, I have cancer. And I remember just dipping my face on the couch. There was a blanket right on top of the couch, and I dipped my face in that and just started bawling my eyes out because I I just thought that was death. I was like, that's it. She's dead. And my when I look back, I think that my mind puts up a lot of barriers and like I've erased a lot of those memories. But everything that I've experienced in my childhood, all the freedoms that you gave me, like I did a lot of stuff. And when we lived in Windsor, like you just let me learn
Mm-hmm.
and you let me just be my own person. And I look back and I'm just so grateful that like I've learned all the stuff that I have, and every single bad thing that has ever happened to me is I look back and it just taught me a lesson, or I met someone out of it, or there's a reason for most things
Mm-hmm.
in life. And I don't know.
Let's talk about, I know we could talk forever and ever and ever, but we only have like 10 more minutes.
Mm,
So I want to talk about that moment when I pulled you out of high school.
mm-hmm,
So a lot of parents are messaging me and being like, my kid is not doing well in school. The school's calling. We're doing all the things. And they kind of make it like we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. But I think in this conversation, hopefully parents understand that there's like an inner experience the child is having. They're not bad kids. Their behavior is a language, right? They're struggling. I remember when I pulled you out, I was like nobody agreed with me. The
mm-hmm.
school thought I was crazy. Dad thought I was crazy. Um,
I thought you were crazy.
yeah, you were not
Oh,
happy.
it took a long time for me to agree to make that move.
Yeah, and you didn't even really agree to it.
That was a big ego thing. Well, it was either I do that or I'm a 13th year high schooler and I would rather
Mhm.
do that than
You wouldn't have been done.
no,
No,
I would have just never
yeah.
went back.
So I had to take a risk that nobody agreed with, um, and I did it. And you went to an alternative high, they call it alternative high school, and then you decided you didn't even want to go there, like in person.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you were sleeping, and I was like, you can't just sleep all day. Like, we need to get the schooling done. Um, I made you get a full time job, because I was like, well, if you're not going to go to school and you're not going to do like homeschooling, then you're going to get a full time job.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? And how was that for you when I was like serious about it?
I mean, at first I was all game just because I was
You
in
wanted
my
money. You
yeah
were money motivated.
yeah
Yeah.
no, I was money motivated. It was my first full time job, so it was like steady hours. I was
Mm-hmm.
excited about that. Plus, the idea of doing school at the same time was really intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was
It sucked. You hated it.
yeah, I did not like the idea of the move for a long time, and I think that even without accepting Christie's help, I don't think I would have
Mhm.
been
And we're
able.
going to talk about that, because Christy and I are doing a program
Mhm.
together. So people may hear this before the program launched or after. We may do another cohort as well. Um, so And the reason why Christy and I decided to do this is essentially because of the impact she had in your life, but also all these things that I'm talking about, like within myself, that's the work I teach people inside of mastery, inside of my program. And we think it's about parenting, but it's about so much more. So here you are, resistant to alternative education, but there's no other choice.
Hmm.
Like you're literally not going to school, and the school is just not helpful. And I've told you this, and I think you looked on Instagram and you saw my video when I was in a meeting and I just told the school, my job is to keep my child alive.
Hmm.
And you were what I call apathetic at that point. You don't know what apathy means, but like you're numb. You are not motivated to go to school, and you're not like you're numb and you're going deeper in a hole. And so as a parent, I'm like, there's my child drowning. I need to save them. So
Hmm.
I went against everybody, including dad, and I pulled you out with no certainty on the other side. And I just figured shit out as we went, got you enrolled in this school. That didn't work. Talked to some not so awesome educators at that school who were not advocates for being having an alternative of an alternative solution. And so I just kept thinking, how can I enter Christy?
Hmm.
So Christy at the time was a teacher, and she was a French teacher. You went to a French school, and I said, I need your help. Logan has the curriculum. Logan has the curriculum, but he needs accountability, right?
Hmm.
So enter. Let's talk about Christy and that relationship. And you can talk about Christy as a human, but I'm more concerned about like the structure that I made you do this in.
Well, at first, like when we did the transition to the school, like I was still not going, and I didn't really want to graduate at this point, and I was working, so I was like, okay, I'm just not gonna graduate. And you were telling me like you're gonna do it. You have to just do it, and
And I didn't care if you graduated high school, but I knew you would regret it.
yeah, that and I think I really needed to remind myself that I'm capable of putting in the work because
Yes.
at first I really was not a fan of the idea because I've had lots of tutors in my life and I felt like it was just even like just like switching schools, just like not being able to handle high school, having a tutor to do basic high school work feels horrible.
Yeah, you felt pretty stupid.
Like and it's not they weren't like basic careers class, like just banging out
Yeah,
credits.
get it done.
And I'm sitting there with the tutor, and that was where my head was at. I was like, I'm just like what is this? Like I have no work ethic. Like I need like my mom is getting extra because I can't do this work. And then I told myself these stories, and then once the work started moving, and I felt good, and we created a system. I just showed up for an hour, twice a week, maybe three times, and I after work 1 hour in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And she made it so easy. And I don't feel uncomfortable. I never felt like I was in some weird space that
Mm-hmm.
like
And sometimes you did it virtually
yes.
because
And
that's important.
but once the ball started rolling and we really started banging out the assignments and just like
Mm-hmm.
really saw
Mm-hmm.
the end like the light at the end of the tunnel. Every day Christy always said that like you see the light at the end of the tunnel, like it's right there. You're right there, a little bit more, a little bit more. And now I am done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like if I didn't if you didn't advocate for me to do that, like I would probably be a completely different person right now.
Mm-hmm. And I would say during that time, because I think a lot of times it's just a little side note, a lot of times parents are exhausted.
Mhm.
There's parental fatigue is a thing.
Yeah.
Just like you were exhausted with high school. You were like, I'm so done with this. So we're both exhausted. And I didn't know if you were ever going to graduate, to be honest, but I just wasn't willing to give up on you.
Mm.
So I had to figure out how to hold boundaries, though. You did not like me during that period. I would literally tell Christy, this little fucker is going to cancel today and you're going to charge him $200 because I am done with his shit. You taught me boundaries.
Yeah, I definitely
You
did.
taught me a master class on boundaries, but you were like not loving it, and
Yeah.
I was not giving up on you.
I'm so fortunate.
Do you remember one conversation we had? It was over the phone. You were having a moment.
Was this when you were late to pick me up from work
Oh,
to
we
bring
had
me to
many.
Christie's?
No, we had many conversations. There was one time you were having I'm going to call it a tantrum.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with Christy.
Okay.
And you were not well. And I just remember being like, I can't rescue him. I wasn't with you, it was on the phone. I can't rescue him. I can't fix any of his problems for him. Who does he need me to be right now? He needs to know that I will not give up on him.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept telling you that. I'm not going to give up on you. I'm not going to give up on you. And yeah, I think you just needed me to tell you that. You didn't need me to fix your problems.
You just never.
I was relentless.
Yeah.
I will continue to be relentless. But here's the thing. Okay, you finish high school, yay, check the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think parents, humans in general, adults are so externally focused. Like, look at my kid, yay, 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 let's post it on Instagram, whatever. I'm just really proud of you. Can I tell you that?
Mm-hmm.
You make me cry. Now I want to make you cry. Will I make you cry?
Probably not.
Oh, damn. Okay. I'll do this after the recording. But I'm very proud of you because you finish high school, you're working full time. Okay, let's talk about Costa Rica quickly. Okay. So then I say, Logan, what are you going to do with your life? You're not going to post secondary education right now. All your friends are going to post secondary education,
Mm-hmm.
right? What are you going to do? And you're like, I have no idea. So then enters, let's go to Costa Rica because you're not the type, or you haven't been yet, to come to me with these ideas. I'm always the challenger for you.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about Costa Rica quickly,
I was very opposed to it at first.
which seems to be your pattern.
Yeah. Yeah, but the idea started growing more and more. At the beginning, like towards my opinion on the trip the entire time was a fresh start, and that almost as like a running away.
Mm-hmm.
Not fully running away, but like just seeing like what, like just getting a full break, because I literally just finished school and this is it. Like I've got no responsibilities and you're just going to go to Costa Rica. And I think just it was a long time that I'd been like alone like that. Like I was by myself for 3 weeks.
And I wanted you to be longer.
But yeah, I was supposed to be there for 3 months, but that's whatever.
Right.
But I I hadn't been alone with myself like in my head like that for a long time. And I just noted like the first 2 days I was really happy. Like I could not wipe the smile off my face. Like the sun, the beach, it was beautiful. The people,
Freedom.
like
Yeah.
it felt amazing. And then after a while, it's just like this shit's the same everywhere you go.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's all internal. Like at all it that shit I just brought it with me. I told myself these stories that like I was gonna be a different person and that I was gonna do these things, but I just brought all of that with me. And I think that it really showed me that it's all just in your head, and that Costa Rica showed me thousands of things. It showed me to be so much more grateful for what I have, and like
Mm-hmm.
just the contrast, and like the people on this planet, like the consumers versus the people that are just like literally just living in the moment and working, supporting themselves, and just have a smile on their face. When I came back, when I got into the Florida airport, I felt the vibe of the people standing in line around people. You can feel
You could feel the energy shift.
the energy it dwindles. It's not there. It does not. The people are not as
Happy.
yeah. They just I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it showed me so many things. It showed me that people are also all the same, regardless of if they look different, speak different languages. They all behave emotionally, like they all have the same. I don't know, like they just
People are
yeah,
people.
people are people,
Yeah.
no matter who they are, and I don't know, I just met a lot of good people, and it was really just a good experience to like just unwind and really just take a second to just be alone and
Mhm. What do
really.
you say to parents? Because again, I mean, I probably did a podcast on that crying
Mm,
because every time it's always my idea, and then I cry. Like it is parenting is hell.
yeah.
It's like getting your heart broken over and over and over again. And hopefully one day you might understand that, and then I'll be like, yeah, bro, suck it up.
Well,
Anyway, what I want to say because we have to wrap it up is, and I apologize for cutting you off. Is oh God, what was I? Oh, what do you say to parents who are scared to let their kids go?
I'm right back here. Like everyone, it was so funny. I left and everyone was crying. Everyone was like, and I was supposed to be gone for 3 months, and
Mm-hmm.
I was fully intended on being gone for 3 months, and like my close friends were like upset and stuff, and I just came right back. I'm right back here. Like as long as the biggest thing is like I know that you had confidence in my ability to survive.
Yes.
Like at all costs, I survive.
Mm-hmm.
Unless like something very unusual and bad happens.
Right.
But like I'm not an idiot. I can figure out most things on my own. And you knew that. Having that little bit of competency
Mm-hmm.
in your child, I don't know if that's the right word or not,
Mm-hmm.
but having that little confidence that your child has the understanding to like get on a bus and go to the town next door and not like have an anxiety attack and start crying on the phone
Right.
and like not talking to people that they just genuinely should not be talking to, like just common sense.
And then yes,
But
especially because I
also
put you in those situations
yeah,
locally. But
but
yes.
the other thing is also they don't learn any of that unless you'll let them go.
Yeah.
But you have to end this soon because you got
Yes, I know. I
yeah.
have another call. Okay. I think we're gonna have you back.
I definitely
Will
was.
Will you do that?
I definitely will do a part two because
Okay.
there's definitely more that could be
Okay.
said.
So we'll do a part two. This is just a little tip of the iceberg. I'm gonna ask you like send me messages on Instagram at Heather Chauvin, Chauvin. Let me know what else you want Logan and I to talk about. Um, Thank you.
I had fun.
Yeah.
Went much better than I thought it would. So
Really? You were very nervous at the beginning.
yeah, I don't know it takes me a second to get used to the recording aspect of it. I
Yeah.
don't record myself every day, so I don't
No, neither do well, I do,
know.
but yeah, I think I would like to dive deeper into like your
I
perspective
think
versus my perspective, and maybe we can get some Q&As from the community or something.
I think there's a lot that we can go into, like much more depth and like understanding, but that just takes time and like really digging into a
Mhm.
specific subject of
I
whatever.
also think just us being able to have these conversations is key.
Mm-hmm.
Like awareness of patterns, like you want to please me versus like, now I know you're just like, Dad, I need to plant a seed for 6 months if I want you to
Mm-hmm.
do something. But again, just and then you challenge me too, and that's what relationships are about. And yeah, yeah. Thank you.